There's been a small update on the whole Bayley situation, so we're going to see what's up with that. We're also going to take a look at what is new for Tiffany Stratton for the general manager role and for more. Starting things off with the update on the entire contract situation with Bayley. Now, this has been a steady topic of conversation over the last few weeks due to some cryptic posts from Mercedes that appeared to be hinting at Bayley's arrival in AEW. And now, on top of those cryptic teasers, there's other little things that are popping up that are really keeping the conversation going. Like at Saturday night's main event, where it was Lyra versus Bayley. Bayley did bust Lyra's nose open in this match, but Lyra ultimately won the match by making Bayley fade out. And then after that match, Bayley posted some pictures of herself looking down and out backstage at Madison Square Garden after the match. And then, on the Raw after that event, Bayley was nowhere to be seen on that show. Lyra said some words about Bayley and then threw out some hints about being ready to move on to bigger things. How she never needed Becky, Bayley, or anybody else by her side. So, with Bayley missing this recent episode of Raw, and Lyra speaking like she's moving on to other things already, this kind of has fans concerned if Bayley's just been written off of television for an undisclosed amount of time. Now, things with Bayley's usage have been a little bit wonky for well over a year now. It was in early 2025 that she started to team up with Lyra, and they were supposed to be getting a tag team titles match together at WrestleMania 41. But they made the creative decision to fully remove Bayley from that WrestleMania match and replace her with Becky in order to start up that entire Becky and Lyra program. And a lot of fans really didn't like that move by WWE, how a fully healthy Bayley was just pushed aside and removed from the WrestleMania card. And then later in the year, we saw Bayley return in order to turn the issues between Becky and Lyra into a three-way situation. But even in that feud, Bayley was never able to capture the Women's Intercontinental title. And then, from there, Bayley and Lyra became a tag team again. But there was still never much really happening for them. You know, they teased this whole new character direction for Bayley and how she was supposed to have this split personality that shifted between the different eras of her WWE career. And that looked interesting at the start. But then it lasted for a few weeks before being ultimately dropped and then never talked about again. Now, Bayley had another shot at the Women's Intercontinental title against AJ Lee before WrestleMania, but she was also unsuccessful in that match. Bayley and Lyra would then get their final crack at the women's tag team titles, and, surprise, they once again lost that opportunity, not being able to win the tag team titles. That led to Lyra betraying Bayley and turning heel. Which brings us to the current day, following that loss to Bayley at Saturday night's main event. So, having success and just having a general good direction has never really been in place for Bayley for 2025 and for the majority of 2026 so far. So add it all up, with them appearing to have no real plans for Bayley, with the cryptic posts from Mercedes, with her contract being up in late 2026, and with her now being written off of WWE television, kind of has fans deeply invested to try to figure out what is going to be Bayley's next career move. Is she happy with her current usage in WWE? Does she want to leave the company for the first time ever and see what else is out there? Well, reports claim that if Bayley does hit free agency in late 2026, that AEW does have some interest in signing her. So the interest is there if Bayley does end up hitting the market. Reports also claim that Bayley is yet to sign any type of extension or new deal with WWE, so her WWE contract expiration date is still allegedly sometime in late 2026. So we all have eyes on Bayley at this current moment in time. Everybody seems to be interested in knowing what her next move is going to be. We're going to have to see if Bayley continues to remain off WWE television for a long amount of time, or if they're going to bring her back sometime soon, because she still has several months left on her current deal. But if Bayley isn't signing a new deal with WWE after all, then we certainly can't expect to see her having a lot of success in her final months, right? I mean, they're probably going to continue to be used in the fashion that she was used at Saturday night's main event. So that'll be a situation that everybody's just going to have to continue to keep their eye on there. Rhea Ripley missing SummerSlam not only affected her own original plans for the event, but it also seems to have had a domino effect on some other big plans that WWE was cooking up. According to reports, Blake Monroe versus Tiffany Stratton for the Women's U.S. Championship was allegedly going to be a big program and match for SummerSlam 2026. Blake Monroe had just come over to the main roster and she was taking everyone out. It looks like the payoff for that mini-story would have been Blake coming for Tiffany and the U.S. title, and that match then would have taken place at SummerSlam. Another very high-profile feud for the women's U.S. title there by putting Tiffany and Blake against each other. But that match and program had to be pulled and canceled due to WWE shifting plans around and putting Tiffany Stratton in the interim WWE women's title ladder match at SummerSlam. So, since Tiffany's in that ladder match, Tiffany versus Blake, that title match is no longer on the table. And a lot of fans asked a very simple and great question in response. They asked why WWE didn't just leave Tiffany out of the interim title match so that they still could have had the Tiffany and Blake title match. And that's a very good question, and it's a great point. But they wanted Tiffany in that interim title match, apparently, so that's why the Blake and Tiffany match got canceled. But maybe we won't have to wait very long to finally see it, though. Yeah, it's unfortunate that the match didn't take place at SummerSlam, right? But maybe this program could kick off now immediately following SummerSlam. You know, outside of a brief feud earlier this spring with Jade Cargill, Tiffany hasn't really done much with the women's U.S. title. And that's not Tiffany's fault, that's just the type of treatment that title receives on a regular basis. But everybody's hoping that that trend is going to change and that the women's U.S. title finally starts getting some major programs around it. And Tiffany versus Blake, that could be a major program if they do turn back to those plans after SummerSlam. Now, ever since the Nick Aldis and Gunther program started, a lot of fans had questions and concerns about what this feud actually meant for the role of Smackdown general manager. Was it just a one-time match for Nick Aldis and how he'll return to general manager right after SummerSlam? Or is he permanently giving up that SmackDown general manager role? Well, after several weeks of everybody wondering about the answer to that question, the July 24th edition of SmackDown appeared to give us the answer to those questions. It was clearly stated that if Nick Aldis signed the SummerSlam match contract with Gunther, he would therefore relinquish his position as SmackDown general manager. And Nick Aldis signed that contract, so that settles that. Nick Aldis is officially out as SmackDown general manager. And so now there's a vacancy for the SmackDown general manager role. It appears that Adam Pearce is going to run both shows again on the screen for the time being. But if they do find somebody new to become the new general manager, that spot is open for them. Or if Nick truly is done in the ring after SummerSlam, maybe there's still a chance that he could return to that role. All options appear to be on the table for the time being, so we'll just have to see how everything turns out there. But anyway, what are your thoughts on today's stories? Leave your comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe with all notifications on, and make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.